And I'm going to share my screen here. Can everybody see this? All right. So let's start off with SFA student Morgan Glass asking the first question.
Mr. Hale, what technology services and office space innovation have you offered your clients in the past? And I'm gonna add on a quick little snippet of like, you know, how do you think those, like the innovation you created in the past, how do you think it's helped with your clients now?
Well, for us, you know, what we have in NacSpace is really different than anything else you see in the marketplace today. So, for example, if you look at WorkHub or WeWorks or the other remote office space, they don't have the same services we have in our facility. So, the existing services are pretty dynamic. I give you a high-level list, but obviously our website would show a more detailed list. But just to kind of give you a flavor, obviously the office space is one. So it's membership related, whether you want a dedicated offices, dedicated cubicles, or even the shared workspace. Along with that, the technology comes into is 24/7 access. So it's all access controlled. The offices have independent HVAC ventilation, so they're all independently controlled. The other thing on top of that is during COVID, since they're all individual units, each office is separately controlled. It allows us to handle that more effectively during pandemic situations. In other words, we don't have to worry about the virus as much because each office is isolated. And on top of that, each of the ventilation systems have been adapted to add the, and I can't remember the terminology, but basically they control any airborne viruses in the systems too. A lot of that's being used in the school systems today, but that's something we did back when the pandemic started. So that's just a few of the things as far as the office space. But along with that, since we're also an IT service provider and data center, we are very highly driven as far as the data. So we have 3 fiber circuits, very large ones from 3 different carriers from 3 different sources. So the remote office space here has more data capability than most that I can think of in the area. So it really, we can be as little as maybe 10 meg on the bandwidth, or we can go up to the gigabit. So it's it really just depends on what their needs are. The other thing is that's different than the other competitors is we have on-staff, on-site IT staff. So if they need somebody to help with the PCs or the printers or the Wi-Fi or security or any applications, for example, we have one customer that does tax prep for customers, and we assist with them on various things, everything from copy machines to conference room setups to Zoom meeting setups, training, just assistance overall. And that's just one of many things that we can do since we have techs in the building. So we have some people in the building that are startups, and they didn't even have the resources to buy complete phone systems or even workstations. So we had the ability to rent or lease equipment per their needs, so they can come in, sit down. So part of their membership is basically bundled in. They have X number of workstations, they have X number of phones. We provide the receptionist services, we do their shipping and receiving. They also have the conference room, so they have so many hours on Zoom. They have, obviously, we have 24/7 by 365 security because we are a data center. So we have somebody on site every day, every hour, obviously in shifts. So people can feel comfortable coming into our facility. It's very well lit, and it's in a secure part of town. So we feel like a lot of these things, while they may not all be technology, there are things that we have that complement all 3 services, whether it's IT services, office space, or the data center. Those are some of the high level things. Obviously, since we have people on site, we also do the catering. We do scheduling. We can pick up from the airport if we have people flying in and take them back. We have some services we do for attorneys that are coming in and out of town, as well as vendor reps. So that's just, I guess, I don't know if that exactly answers your question, but the biggest reason why we are different is we have roughly 35 individuals in the hardware, what I refer to as IT tech side. So server administration, network administration, low voltage techs, PC techs, and general help desk. And they can help with anything with Office 365, spreadsheets, or whatever their needs are. We even help with Quicken and QuickBooks for some of the smaller accounts.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Wow. I mean, we knew that it gave a lot of different services, but that list is extensive, Mr. Hill. I wanted to please take this moment very briefly to introduce Dr. Mark Sanders, the Dean of College of Liberal and Applied Arts right now. He joined us. Thank you so much for your time this morning. And I'm just going to quickly introduce you, Dr. Sanders, to our SFA mentor, Mr. Rusty Rust, who's the CEO of Commercial Bank, Mr. Mike Bakewell, who is the mentor for for Sam Houston State University, and of course, Mr. Hale, who is our NacSpace CIO, Mr. Philip Hale, and then we have Dr. Zachary Doleshal from Sam Houston State University, who is the program coordinator at Sam Houston.
To make one correction there, not a big deal. I'm not big on titles, but actually I'm the CIO of Elliott Electric Supply, and I'm the president of NacSpace. So I wear two hats. For Elliott Electric Supply, I'm their chief information officer, and we're a spinoff from that company. So I still handle the strategy and IT needs for Elliott Electric Supply, but obviously I'm the president of NacSpace and that business. The other thing I wanted to add to number one that I forgot, it's an important one, is the big service that we add is for DR. So for example, after the hurricanes in Lake Charles, just to give you an example, a lot of the cities down in that area look for areas within driving distance for two things: one, data center, and two, office space that can provide in emergency situations. It just so happens, even though we are still in the hurricane corridor, we're on the outer edge, and we're within the 6-hour range that a lot of cities put in. So we fit in that area that we can maintain a data rack space for cities in certain areas, and along with that, provide office space, cubicles, and other means to help in case their facilities are shut down. So I forgot to say that on number one. It's a very important one because we see that growing.
All right, thank you for that. Our next speaker or questioner, I would say, is let me see, I just received the email. Morgan Robertson will ask question number 2.
Mr. Hill, what advantages and appeals does Lufkin have to you as president of NacSpace? And more specifically, why do y'all prefer to expand to Lufkin, excuse me? Is there an industry or a company? I know there's an Elliott Electric. Is there some other factor that we couldn't find on Google Maps or just Googling Lufkin that we can get a bigger base of knowledge about Lufkin?
Well, really is the dynamics between the two cities. Right now with there's a highway 59, it's the I-69 corridor, and there's a lot of construction from Houston all the way up through Nacogdoches. And what you'll see between Nacogdoches and Lufkin, there's people in Lufkin that commute to Nacogdoches to work, and there's people in Nacogdoches that commute to Lufkin. And the one thing that we see is there's a lot of struggle for people traveling back and forth. And Nacogdoches, obviously, we have a facility here that people can remote office out of. But as of today, I'm not aware of something similar in the Lufkin market. Lufkin is a larger city than Nacogdoches. I think it's roughly twice the size. And there are there's a lot of industries that is still there, some that is closed down and moved on, but it's still a sizable city with a lot of people that currently commute to work. And the feeling was just to doing a market analysis to see if it would support something similar and it would complement what we have in Nacogdoches. You know, for somebody to travel all the way to Nacogdoches for remote office space really doesn't make sense, because it's about a 30-minute drive. And most times, you know, people will commute a little ways, maybe 10 minutes, maybe 15. I could be wrong. Maybe they do commute 30 minutes or more. But to me, it seemed a little unreasonable. If you're going to commute that far, you might as well drive in, at least in this market. The other thing is Lufkin has a pretty sizable infrastructure for broadband. And for those that are in the outlying area, if you look around Lufkin, there's a lot of small towns, just like in the Nacogdoches area. So you have the Hudsons and the Huntingtons and other small cities that still do not have the broadband capabilities that the larger cities have. Now, East Texas is trying to address that, but as of today, there's a lot of individuals that are in the smaller cities that need somewhere they can go to work if they're working from home, and they do not have the internet broadband that's capable. So the feeling was Lufkin would be another area, kind of like Nacogdoches, that could service people from the surrounding areas.
Thank you. And if I might add one more quick thing, you mentioned broadband. How has the new Infrastructure Act that just passed affect that? Because I know broadband is rapidly expanding and they're trying to get it more towards rural communities. I just wanted to know how that affects y'all more specifically.
Well, what we're, you know, the thing is, of course, that act just went into place and the funding has just been allocated. You know, unfortunately, it's not moving as fast as it should. What we're seeing is in some of the bigger cities, for example, Nacogdoches today, I mean, they're out in front of the building right now, pulling in fiber next to the highway, and they're doing that, you know, they're putting it in all the way around Nacogdoches. But if you go towards Douglas, which is a small city to the west, or you go towards Garrison and Timpson to the east, which are very small cities, and even to the south, those cities, as of today, have nothing in place. And before today, they had very little and still very any options for broadband. So I do see a movement through the various carriers, and even Starlink, which is, you know, a great option for a lot of people. And I think that's going to save, you know, get a lot of more people online. And so I do think there's options coming. Some are coming faster than others. So it's good to see, but I do see that it's going to take a while before you see the average homeowner be able to get affordable broadband to their house, at least in the rural markets.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I would like to take this moment to welcome Dr. Helmut Langerbin. He is the Dean of Liberal Arts at Southern Arkansas University. There he is.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry I was late.
Morning.
Yes. Okay, so the next question number 3, is actually from one of the students from Southern Arkansas, and that would be Miracle Daramola. Miracle, we can see you now.
Hi, my name is Miracle. So my question was, what means or type of marketing does NacSpace use? And he also has a part 2. And I also wanted to ask that what age group and type of business are targeted while marketing, like why NacSpace market?
Okay, so that's question number 6. Is that what I'm answering?
Yes.
Okay. So NacSpace for marketing, you know, we have since part of our staff does website and SEO, as well as some social media for other companies. We obviously use those people for doing the same thing for NacSpace. So a lot of the things that you would expect, you know, obviously Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, you know, the website. We also do email campaigns, ad campaigns. That's some of the general ones we do. The biggest challenge for us has been getting the Facebook and the Instagram really to get out to users that don't currently know about NacSpace. And while we pushed a lot out there, we do food trucks, we have various open houses and events. We partner with the chamber and other organizations in town. And so we do a lot of things with other organizations to try to get the word out about NacSpace. The various members of NacSpace are even part of organizations like the Rotary. And, it's so that again, that's pretty much what we're doing. I'm not saying it's perfect. There's room for improvement. We'd love to see any ideas that you have, because that is it's something that we struggle with, the average person. In Nacogdoches and Lufkin, you walk up to them and say, have you ever heard of NacSpace and what it is? Some people will come in and say, oh, well, that's a place on the north side of town and they do office space. Well, that's one of three things that we do, but we do more than that. Or some will say, well, we don't know what that is. It's just a building between two others and we're not sure what they have. So we obviously have a lot more room for improvement, but we are in those three separate areas. So that's what we're doing as far as marketing. We do have brochures. We have inside and outside salespeople that basically call on accounts. So that's part of the marketing and advertising part too. They're incentivized through commissions to establish relationships with customers. So they work with individual accounts, and their deal is the successfulness of that our relationship with the customer goes into their compensation. But so that drives some of it too, because they're out on the street quite a bit. As far as the age group, it's all over. We have a few college students that come in and use our facility just for just Wi-Fi. We even have some that are younger that do testing. We have had some people doing testing in our facilities. As far as the upper end, it's all over the board. We don't. I really don't keep a tab on as far as the age groups necessarily, but I would say it's all over that use. We have, again, attorneys, we have doctors, we have other businesses, tax professionals, real estate brokers, you name it, that are in our facility. We actually have one educational business. They're based out of Europe, but their U.S. Sales office is here in our facility in Nacogdoches. So, and they deal with a lot of the schools in Texas anyway, as far as the software applications that they sell to those school districts. And the other businesses, it varies. We have some that we actually have a couple of software developers. We have one that's in gaming. He does testing for various gaming systems. I think he's actually contracted to 2 or 3 different companies. So he spends a lot of time up here at night and various times in the morning doing nothing but playing games, I guess. And, we certainly have the bandwidth for it. So he hasn't had any problems. Other types of businesses, there may be a few others, but that's basically those that I know of that are using NacSpace currently. Anyway, as far as the type, is that is all for the office space. Now, I'm not sure if the question is specifically office space or IT services. So if we're talking about IT services and the data center, those types of businesses is a lot bigger. We have industrial accounts, commercial contractors, residential contractors, home builders. We also have a lot of businesses in the medical area. So, we deal with HIPAA and the various other, requirements that go along with that. And credit unions, banks, we even do some with the hospitals. So you name it, we deal with a little bit of all the different types of businesses out there. Oil and gas, there's, a company in Longview, we deal with 100 and some odd techs that run around with iPads and we're their remote help desk. There's HVAC companies, plumbing companies, electrical contractors, you name it. We deal with them all.
Mr. Hill, I had a quick follow-up question to that. You said residential contractors? What does that mean?
Residential contractors. So those are the electrical. Usually it's on the electrical or the advanced. So in larger homes where they want the audio, video capabilities, or the biggest area we see is in rural areas where they do not have broadband. So we assist with cell boosters, Wi-Fi technologies that we can put on their facilities to try to beef up the Wi-Fi so that it's acceptable. We also assist in Cat5 cabling, low voltage cabling, even alarm systems. It's typically on the larger homes. We don't deal with the smaller homes, but the larger homes we definitely work in.
Thank you for that. The next question will be asked by SFA student Asasia. Number 4, please.
What percentage of NacSpace customers come from Elliott Electric Supply?
Very, very, very small percentage. I'd say less than 1%.
We thought that, you're probably being able to utilize a lot of the Elliott Electric customers, but hearing your previous replies, it is very clear that you have a very different business model, and what you are offering is very, very different from Electric.
Yeah, obviously we have some customers that, of course, Elliott Electric Supply deals with the electrical contractors, whether it's residential, commercial, or industrial. And we do have some that we assist with IT services. So whether it's servers, PCs, networks, or even phones, cloud phones, a lot of cloud phones, we assist in those areas. So we definitely have customers that are customers of Elliott Electric Supply that we work with, but as a percentage as a whole, it's pretty small. And but that is, we're obviously open to that if it's something that we can complement what Elliott Electric Supply is doing. We definitely don't try to compete with our customers with Elliott Electric Supply. So we look for areas that we can complement those services and not compete.
So just a very quick follow-up on question number 4 is that, so if that is the case, and then you didn't depend on your alignment with Elliott Electric, how did you build a base of customers when you first started 3 years ago? What was your strategy at that time?
A lot of knocking on doors and begging for business. No, well, it's fortunately, one of the reasons we put NacSpace in Nacogdoches was to serve a need for the community. The one major reason I decided to do a business plan for this organization was originally when we were a part of Elliott Electric Supply, we were having a hard time with infrastructure. We were very limited for Elliott Electric Supply as a corporate office for $1 billion company to get reasonable internet access at a decent price. And the other thing was talent. It was very, very difficult to retain talent in Nacogdoches. So recruiting was difficult. Infrastructure for us, from an IT perspective, was very difficult. So we were at the point where we were looking at relocating our department to, the Dallas, Austin, or Houston areas. And at the time, fortunately, the founder of Elliott Electric Supply and the chamber and NEDCO, which is the Economic Development Committee, they heard, rumors what was going on, and they asked me to come in, and they were already working on the broadband initiative. And that's way before funding and everything else. And when we sat down with them, we told them what our issues were and how it not only affected Elliott Electric Supply, but it affects everybody. And a lot of people at the time just didn't realize that, broadband is really as important as electricity and water, in my mind. And that was something that a lot of the telcos didn't foresee. If it wasn't a high population area, and the competition wasn't a problem, so you had issues with availability and pricing. So after that, I guess between various people in the city and, Bill Elliott, which is the founder of LA Electric Supply, suggested that I look at it and see if we could, serve the community, not just LA Electric Supply, but other businesses in an area that would benefit East Texas, as well as help grow, that infrastructure and talent in this area. So I took that on as a challenge, and that's where NacSpace came into being. And that's why we built this nice facility in Nacogdoches that serves all three areas. And, so far we've been successful. I can't say that we've been the sole reason, broadband is coming to East Texas, but we've obviously have worked with the carriers. We're with direct relationship with two of them since we sell their services. And that has helped to some degree. But on top of that, since we're now a separate entity, we've been able to recruit and retain more talent here in Nacogdoches that not only helps LA Electric Supply, but it helps all our customers. And I think our customers see that we're committed to stay in Nacogdoches and service those in the area. So that's, been my drive from the beginning, is to try to show, and plus for Nacogdoches, it's only a benefit if you have a strong IT presence and you have the broadband. Obviously, that's going to grow city growth. You'll have more opportunities for small companies to come in that don't have the means and to take advantage of the services and facilities that you have at a lower investment and be able to grow. So I think it's good for the city, it's good for the people, and hopefully it'll be good for us. So that's where we came from anyway.
Thank you for that. I think that makes a lot more sense to hear the backstory in order for us to go forward with any kind of recommendation. Because if you've already done something and it didn't work, or if you did something and it did work, how to kind of enhance those efforts, that would be really helpful for our students. Okay. Next student to speak would be from Sam Houston. Please ask question number 5, Joseph Morgan.
Yes, ma'am. Howdy, Mr. Hale. Have you identified any roadblocks through the analysis of Lufkin's potential NacSpace expansion?
Roadblocks. Well, I wouldn't say roadblocks. They're more of challenges. The biggest thing is for us is the marketing and getting the word out. We settled on the name NacSpace because at the time it's a little unique. You hear the word NacSpace, you're like, well, what does that mean? And where we came with that is it was very difficult for us to come up with a name for 3 different spaces: data center space, and IT space, and office space. So that's where the space was. Nac just kind of tied it to Nacogdoches. Well, from the biggest challenge I see from marketing and advertising, there seems, Nacogdoches and Lufkin have a history. They play each other in football, they play each other in sports, so there's rivalry between the 2 cities. They even fight each other over airports. So, the challenge is for us to go into Lufkin, sell a facility and services with a name that has part of Nacogdoches on it. I don't think it's a big deal, but it is something that obviously from a marketing and advertising perspective, we'll have to work with. That's really, it's more of a challenge than a roadblock that I see as. But other than that, Lufkin is opening up more on the broadband side. Originally, a big roadblock in Lufkin was just their data access. They have a small so I say a small backbone that connects Lufkin all the way down to Conroe using Consolidated. And so they were very limited. They limited outside access to other carriers. So whether that's AT&T or Suddenlink or whoever it is, but they are starting to open up. So we're seeing that change. But over the years, it was very difficult to get other options into Lufkin, which for us, if we're going to sell the services and try to get some kind of reasonable profit for it, we need to have competitive data offerings and from multiple carriers to be able to provide the redundancy and reliability. So those are some other areas. And then just doing an analysis of which we did in Nacogdoches a little bit before we opened up here, is just to kind of get an idea of people that are remote working out of the small towns around Lufkin. Would they commute to Lufkin to remote office space? Again, I think that's just a challenge, but I think there's enough people. We've seen it here in Nacogdoches, so I don't think that's going to be a problem in Lufkin. So they're all just challenges. I don't think there are any roadblocks per se.
Thank you.
All right, and the last question will be asked by a student from Southern Arkansas University, and that would be Finley Blair. Please ask question number 3.
What is NacSpace's largest revenue stream between your 3 main services, IT services, data storage, and office spaces?
So IT services by far is our largest revenue. You know, the data center is our smallest, but we've only been open for 2 years now. So that you can have an understanding about data centers. Most organizations, when they put rack space in a data center, they're usually signing 3 to 5 year agreements. And most companies, when they put rack space in and they get it in a facility, there's little motivation to move it unless there's other areas that have the services or offerings that are better than where they currently are. So what we see and then the reason I mentioned the data center, because that's the one we struggle with right now, is it was the biggest investment in this building. The generators, the UPS systems, all the electrical, the security, I mean, you name it. We put a lot of, even the structure of the building. I mean, the building is rated for, I think, Cat 3 winds. I mean, it's a very substantial, and the data center is a building within a building. I mean, and the walls are at least a foot thick. And I mean, we did all this stuff for the data center, and it's a very expensive investment. We do see that it being a service for the Nacogdoches area, and it is building, but it's a long-term turnaround. So it takes time to bring customers in and provide the services that they need and customize it. We have seen, it's rather interesting on the data center side, we're seeing offerings from people that are doing a lot of mining, and the cryptocurrency and various other things. We've had people from Tennessee and various other areas trying to use, because Texas still has fairly economic or low rates, so they want to put these ant miners in and pay you for kilowatt hours of power that they use. Unfortunately, when we built the facility, we built it all to be considered, rack space. So you have air conditioning, UPS, and generator power. Well, these particular customers don't need that. They can run in a container out in 200 degrees, and they just need ventilation and power, and they don't really care if it dies. They only pay you for what power they use. So we're re-looking at that. Obviously, there's a lot of competition down in Taylor and Austin and San Antonio that are going into that market. So whether we dabble in it or not, I don't know, but it is an opportunity. There is money to be made there. But anyway, that's where we struggle with the data center side. It is growing, but it's our smallest revenue. The next up is the office space. But that one was difficult. We looked at a lot of other organizations in Dallas, Austin, and Houston. And in those markets, what we saw was the younger, I say younger, the college age or up to the 30s that used it, and they were in a more of a social area. They wanted to be able to communicate with other people. They wanted more seating areas. And so we designed, we kind of hedged ourselves. So we put a lot in offices, but we have private cubicles, and we have a good area of shared workspace. And what we found is the shared workspace here in Nacogdoches is probably the least utilized. So, what we really need to do is reevaluate, what people in East Texas are looking for. And for example, we have a lot of people in the medical, medical assistants, for example, that either during a pandemic or wherever, but they have to have private offices. It's HIPAA compliancy. Well, you can't do that in a social environment, and you can't do that in a cubicle. So now we're looking at doing more with private cubicles. They make modular cubicles that are HIPAA compliant and that are securable, And so that's one area we're looking at. And we're also looking at, pulling out some of the cubicles and putting in more offices, but trying to do it in such a way that it looks more open. So it doesn't look like just a tunnel hallways with a bunch of closed doors. So we still want to maintain that open feeling, but obviously provide the privacy for those that need it. So there are some challenges in office space, but that's our second, it's above the data center substantially, but it's not where it needs to be, but it is growing. So that's the office space, but by far the highest is our IT services. And that is because we have a ton of services like I referred to earlier. So IT means low voltage. We do a ton of wiring. So we'll go in and pull all the low voltage in a school. We will do the Cat5, we'll do the HDMI, we'll do the audio, the visual, and we'll do access control, we'll do alarm systems, we'll do fire detection systems. We do the certification, labeling, testing, everything. So that's kind of one set of things. Then we have another group of individuals that will do fiber. One of the things is fiber, and that's growing. So we do fiber terminations, fiber splicing. We even work with contractors pulling it in, in the ground. So we have done some of that too. PC techs, alarm techs, access control techs. And so that's various other things that we do, printers, mobile devices, you name it. The next tier up from that is server network admin. So we work with Azure, we work with Google, we work with Amazon Web Services. We do on-prem, off-prem, hybrid. But when I say basically a combination of on-prem and off-prem, and but we do a lot of cloud. We work with the customers to find out where we fit. We work with some customers that have IT teams in place, so we just support where they see our needs are. Where they need us, we'll be there. And then there are some customers where we are their IT company, so we do everything from cybersecurity to phishing campaigns to servers, networks, you name it. So there's a huge, IT services is definitely by far the biggest part of our business because we do it all. We can do it be as small or as large depending on what our customers' needs are. And we handle everybody down to, we have the smallest customer that's probably a mom and pop. So it's a husband and wife, that deal with the realty and their brokers. And we deal with companies all the way up to the size of LA Electric Supply, which is almost $2 billion. And we cover 9 states currently, about to be 10.
Well, thank you for that, Mr. Hale. Students, if you have any follow-up questions to the 6 that we had identified, this is the time for it. Just raise your hand and I'll call upon you. Yes, Morgan.
Hi, I actually have 2. One of them is when I was looking on y'all's website, I couldn't find anything about like y'all's mission statement or any CSR programs y'all do. Is there any that you would like to mention in your mission statement?
Well, that's a good point. You bring up a very good point, a mission statement. We should have that. Really our mission currently, and that's why we came into existence, as I mentioned earlier, is to service the needs of East Texas. That's really our main goal, is to help small, medium, large size organizations with their IT services and to be able to grow IT talent in East Texas. So, if we do that, that's a huge win for me because I like Nacogdoches, Lufkin area, and our goal is to stay here. So that's to do that, we've got to be able to recruit and retain the talent to come to the rural markets. And to do that, I see as a NacSpace type of organization that centralizes that talent in an area that can work with each other and help businesses around that area. Now, as far as the other one, that acronym you threw out, I guess you're going to have to educate me on that one. What is that now?
CSR is corporate social responsibility.
Okay.
So it's like, like how do you, or like how does NacSpace help like volunteer within the community? I know you said y'all do like food trucks to like recruit or like get y'all's name out, but like do like those people have to like pay for the food truck, like
Well, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Depends on the events. But as far as, we do some, there's things in Nacogdoches that we try to support. And we work a lot, for example, with NISD and SFA, the universities for various programs. We sponsor, for example, one is the programming contest, which is for computer science students at SFA. We also partner with LA Electric Supply, which LA Electric Supply sponsors many events at SFA, everything from their aviation program to the liberal arts programs, music, and you name it. So
as well as this program.
Absolutely. So we try to partner with any programs that that help with the community, business, and the community overall. So we're part of the broadband initiative in East Texas. So we work with the council of government out of Lufkin, which is called DEDCOG, and there's COGS in Texas. So we work with them, and they're working with the government. That's part of that allocation process. So we're trying to be that part of that, as much of the squeaky wheel as we can, so that hopefully some of those funds will come to the cities in East Texas that desperately needs it. So yes, we're definitely a part of those committees. I'm sure there's some others that I can think that I'm missing, but yes, I don't list them on the website. We probably should to take advantage of that, but yes.
Okay. Thank you. And my second question is, with the expansion of NacSpace, do y'all also plan on expanding within like the jobs of NacSpace? For example, like I know a person on SFA, she's a data analytics major. And so, I mean, that's where you need statistics and computer science. So like, do you think that's like a service that you could provide for your customers with a like, like here's how your business is doing on the data side?
Absolutely. I think the opportunities are endless. And that's why, you see the list of our services growing because the needs of the organizations, they can't afford. For example, we have 2 or 3 small contractors, HVAC contractors and electrical contractors. Well, their software has databases. Well, they don't have a DBA. So we were able to have enough DBA work that we hired one that's working with their SQL servers and the Azure environment or AWS to make sure their backups and the replication policies and their DR strategies are staying in play. So that's one example. On the BI side, that's still kind of a growing one, but if the need was there, we would definitely do it. It's same thing, whether it's artificial intelligence or whatever, we're there to assist. We kind of did some of that with LA Electric Supply, for example, AI in trucks. We assisted with them to find the technologies to, assist and monitor drivers, habits while driving to make sure that we have a safe fleet on the road. So there are things that are coming out from the needs of our customers that are growing our staff, especially on the side of another example is the web development and social media that we're helping small companies and organizations with. Yes, we have a dedicated person now that does nothing but social media. So whereas before we didn't. So as the opportunities become apparent and that we get asked that, hey, it'd be nice if, absolutely. That's when we take those opportunities and we continue to add people to assist that in those areas.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I'm sure there's a lot more that to come. Again, we're 2 years into this. When I originally moved when we spun off our department, I want to say we had roughly 40 individuals doing everything from software development to the IT side. And now we're just under 100 individuals. So we've over doubled our staff, just, helping other companies besides LA Electric Supply.
Any other questions, students? Yes, Miracle.
Hey, Mr. Hale. So, we all know that like Elliott Electric Supply has been in business for a long time, and like, do you think a lot of people know that like NacSpace is like part or like cut off from Elliott Electric Supply, and do you think that could like the knowledge of that could like increase your customer base?
It so yeah, it's a double-edged swords there with the with LA Electric Supply. Yes, LA Electric Supply is a very well established business in East Texas and outside of East Texas for that matter. And NacSpace is new. There are a lot of companies that see NacSpace and they kind of see us as, well, they're just part of LA Electric Supply that dabbles in a little bit. They don't see us as a true IT provider in all the services. And that's just from the marketing challenges we have. So the good part about LA Electric Supply is they see the NacSpace has the funding, has the resources it needs to take care of any customer that needs us. I mean, it's not a matter of can they get the funding. If we wanted to do a project at SFA, their liberal arts building or whatever, we wouldn't have a problem. The money backing of LA Electric Supply would be there. So, a lot of times when companies look at an IT, or even if it's any contractor, they usually look at them to say, well, one, can they do the job? What is their past experience? Or is there going to be a contract that comes in here and goes bankrupt? And then we end up having to pick up the pieces and move on. Well, that's not the case. So that's the good part is, I've been a part of LA Electric Supply for 37 years now. So the staff here has a lot of experience. We've been dealing with the IT world for a long time. So this is not just 2 or 3 people, that worked in a garage like Apple and just voila, we got a company now, let's do something with it. So the main core, and that's why you see the IT services be the highest part of the revenue, is that's our bread and butter. We do it every day with Elliott, so we can do it with anybody. It doesn't matter who it is, whether it's an industrial plant or it's in a home. We know how to handle IT. The struggle really is in the other 2 divisions, which is office space and data center. So those are new, and that's where we're growing. And then that identity is different than LA Electric Supply. The business is totally different than LA Electric Supply. And those customers that fit in those areas, they may not even know who LA Electric Supply is either. So that's the other side of the coin is, how we build a brand so that it is recognizable and we stand on our own, even though we have the backing of a large, corporation. We have our own identity that pulls from other areas. So that's the downside. We got to be something besides LA Electric Supply.
Thank you for that. That is very enlightening because sometimes when we are not part of your organization. So for us to conceptualize how this partnership works, your answer clarifies those. We are just thinking in our own mind, this must be happening. This is how it is happening. But your clarification really helps us to understand.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people think that LA Electric Supply locations, we have 100, I say we, if I put my CIO hat on for LA Electric Supply has right now 172 locations. 2 of those are an acquisition in Kansas City that we're about to go to finish, but that's 10 states. So, it's huge, but none of those locations now are forced to do business with NacSpace. They're all customers of NacSpace. So we're driven now as much to LA Electric Supply as any customer. So for us now, we're selling to everybody. And if a location in Kansas City decides, we want to do our alarm system somewhere else, they can. And it may make sense. So for us, we're going to service those that we can service the best. And we may find out that, we do better here in Nacogdoches and serve better our customers here in East Texas than we can some of our own store locations in other areas. And if that's the case, that, we'll partner with other IT organizations out there, which we have. And it's actually helped us. We have some customers. We actually have one here in town that deals with a restaurant chain, and they have restaurants all across Texas. Well, it just so happened there was an incident in West Texas. We couldn't get there. We knew another organization that handles one of our locations. We partnered with them. They took care of the customer, and it was a win-win for everybody, really. So, at the end of the day, it's just about us taking care of our customers, whether we benefit directly from it or not. So, but all of our locations and customers are true customers now, whereas before we were just part of the organization.
Thank you for that. I think that would be it. I would like to respect everybody's time. I know that we had 1 hour, but I do want to give an opportunity for Dr. Langerbeen to address, because Dr. Sanders had to leave. So if Dr. Langerbeen wants to address this crowd here, and then Mr. Hale here, please, if you could do so.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what you're asking me to do, but certainly, Mr. Hale, I want to thank you for sponsoring this contest. This is very important to the student at Southern Arkansas University, because we're the only ones who are not located in Texas. So this is a great opportunity for our students. Thank you also for taking the time this morning to talk to us. I think you've answered a lot of questions, and I wasn't here in the morning, but I know a lot more about the business than I knew before this meeting, and I'm sure everyone else who attended today would agree with that. So thank you very much again. And thank you to all participants. I think I see a lot of students. I see probably a mentor.
All of them. Mr. Rusty Rust, who's the CEO of Commercial Bank, Mr. Mike Bakewell, he is mentoring the students at Sam Houston, but you already knew that.
Of course, Mike is a veteran. I've seen him many years before, and I hope Rusty becomes part of this tradition as well. So thank you very much, everyone.
And thank you from my side as well. And on behalf of Dr. Sanders, I wanted to thank you all for coming today. I will be sending out more instructions for what's going to happen and the final date for our boardroom competition. Mr. Hale, thank you so much. You have no idea how much you've helped our students today. I really appreciate your time, everybody. Have a good day and a good weekend. You'll be hearing from me soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye, thank you.
Bye-bye.